In one of my previous videos, I had a viewer who commented in the comment section asking me about a very important and a valid question, and that is exactly what I decided to do today. The question asked was that if there are two people, one of a senior ranking and one of a junior ranking, what would be the right etiquette of introducing the two and who should we be introducing first? So in today's video, we are going to be discussing exactly about that specific question. Hi, I'm Divyaa Advaani, and without any further ado, let's just jump right into the topic. So say for example, today over here we have a senior role member who is Dr. Smith Johnson, and we have another junior role member who is Courtney Cox. Now I'm a huge fan of Friends and thus the name Courtney Cox. So anyway, this was just a slight fun element. But apart from that, let's get back to the topic. So when you are in a situation where you have to introduce somebody, someone who is at a senior role and somebody who is at a junior role, it is always advisable to start with the senior person first. This does not only just mark a respect to them, but it also differentiates them from the other members out there. Now let's start with Dr. Smith Johnson. So many a times you would have come across people who would have a certain title to them. Like over here, it's Dr. Smith Johnson. Whenever you introduce such people, if it's a doctor, it is very important to address them with the prefix doctor. Now, why do I say that? Because many a times when you come across people who have a prefix such as doctor in front of their name, they always prefer being called by the same. Similarly, if they are not a doctor, if this didn't exist, it was only Smith Johnson, you could either address them as Mr. Smith Johnson or Smith Johnson, whatever the person would agree to. So this being said about a senior role member, let's move on to the junior role, wherein it's Courtney Cox. Now, when somebody at a junior role have a certain prefix, of course, like we had over here, if there's a similar thing out here as well, if there is doctor put out here, you can address them in the same way as you did at the senior level. So now when you are discussing and you have two people meeting each other and you are the common point of contact there, always start with the senior role person first. So now if I have to introduce these both people, I will first come and tell the junior member about the senior member. So I would start saying Dr. Johnson, because many a times when you address people, it is always advisable to use their last name instead of their first name, because many people love being addressed by their last name. In such a context, you would tell Dr. Johnson, please meet Courtney Cox. Once you've done this, the next thing that you will have to be mindful of is to provide a context. Now, providing a context is very important. When you address somebody, you do not just stop at their name. You also address them with the position that they hold. Especially when you are introducing a senior member, they would get offended if their position is not explained well to the other person. So in this situation, let's assume that Dr. Smith Johnson is a chief marketing officer. He is a chief marketing officer. So what will you address him as? You will tell Courtney Cox, who is a junior member, you will say, meet Dr. Johnson, who is a chief marketing officer. Once you're done with that, once you've finished introducing the senior member, then move your attention to the junior member. A better way of saying it is, Dr. Johnson, may I please introduce you to Courtney Cox? It is also very important to provide the context. So now, when I am introducing Dr. Smith Johnson to Courtney Cox, how will I go further? I will say, Dr. Johnson, please meet Courtney Cox, who is a marketing intern at our firm. So let's just assume Courtney Cox to be a marketing intern here. Now that we have the two roles defined, where we have the senior member being the chief marketing officer and the junior role played by Courtney Cox here, who is a marketing intern in the firm. After introducing the senior most person to the junior person, turn your attention towards the junior person and provide their introduction along with the context so that there is a common point of discussion between the two. Once you have completed introducing both the parties to each other, the next step would be to offer a connection or a conversation starter. Now, since both of these roles belong to the marketing industry, so like we have Dr. Smith Johnson, the Chief Marketing Officer, and Courtney Cox, the junior role person, as a marketing intern, the common point of conversation for them would be over marketing. Once you've given them the common conversation point, it would be easier for them to break the ice and talk over it. If the two had to discuss now, they wouldn't be aloof and they wouldn't be in an awkward situation by not knowing what to talk to each other. Since this would be a common point of conversation for them, the communication would flow easily and would not create any situations where the two would have to think about what needs to be discussed further. For instance, if both of them are in the marketing field, you can always help them by talking about the marketing. For example, you may tell Dr. Johnson that Courtney Cox is into marketing and she is really good with the social media trends. This could become a common point of conversation for them. And on the other hand, you could ask Courtney Cox if she has any issues regarding any social media trends that she would like to learn more about. She can always discuss with Dr. Johnson. This way, it will be easier to break the ice and take the conversation ahead. But wait, are you liking the discussion that is taking place here? If yes, I would request you to please click on the like button and also share this video with as many people as possible to spread awareness and the right etiquette to be introducing people. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, I would also request you to please click on the subscribe button and on the bell icon next to it so that you get notified each time that a new video is put up. If you are a returning subscriber, I am so glad to have you here. Moving further with our topic, the very next point, which is encourage conversation. Once you've introduced the two and you have given both of them a common topic to discuss over, it's now your turn to excuse yourself and let the two have a conversation. It's your role over here to encourage a conversation amongst the two so that they are easier to go around with, and since they belong in the same company, they would have a better understanding about what is going on in the company. Like, say for example, the chief marketing officer would know better about who is working in his company and how good the interns are in the company. Similarly, on the other hand, Courtney Cox would know about the vast experience that Dr. Johnson has, and if at all there is any issues that she faces, she may always have someone to look up to. Now, of course, I do not intend to say that an intern can keep running to the chief marketing officer at all times. That is definitely not right. But then when need be and when the situation is really urgent, one can do so. Once they have both engaged in a conversation, you may take a step back and have the confidence that the two will have an interesting conversation, and you may move from then offer to reconnect later if needed and leave the two to be discussing by themselves. Once this is done, the next step is to follow up. Now, why do I talk about follow up? Follow up is very important, and I am not talking about a follow up from either of these ends. The follow up needs to be done from your end when you are introducing two people. Why would you want to do a follow up is not only to understand how did the two like, but also your credibility is at stake here. Once you introduce somebody, you may ask individually to both of these people about how was the conversation and if they needed any further assistance to be going further talking to each other. In the future, this would also help both of the parties to understand where they would require each other's help, and if at all there are any connections that they are looking for, you could be a common point of contact for them. So this way you can go ahead not only building your credibility but also helping both the parties to be at ease. And also, if they need to reach out for any situation that arises, they know whom to connect with, which would be you, since you were the one to have introduced both of them. Remember that the key to a successful introduction while dealing with a senior and junior individual is to show respect and professionalism. Addressing the senior person first and providing context can help set a tone for a positive interaction. If you've liked this video and there is any specific thing that you would like to know further, please put it in the comment section below. Also, if there is any specific topic that you would like me to make a video over, please let me know in the comment section. Until I see you next, keep smiling, keep shining.